JStint4 here with Realist News. My fellow friends on YouTube, we have an interesting take on Mr. Flynn, Michael Flynn, whatever. Top national security advisor to Trump, some kind of scandal. He was talking to a Russian diplomat or whatever about the sanctions. If Trump, once he steps foot in the White House on January 20th, what about the sanctions, that kind of thing. They said, we should go after him for the Logan Act because he was still he didn't have the government position yet. Trump hadn't appointed him to that position yet, so, he violated the law. I'm reading, the FBI might even file charges. And I'll just say this, how much does anyone want to bet that Trump, I would think, would immediately pardon him? So again, we have to look at what Hillary Clinton did. Email server, scandal, pay to play. Unbelievable, unprecedented. No talk about that. There's no charges against her. Nothing happening. But this guy Flynn gets nailed. So was it payback from the other side, the left? I think it may be. Zero Hedge, inside the secret campaign to oust Flynn. Does it seem awfully convenient to anyone that Michael Flynn, a man appointed by Obama to be the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2012 before subsequently being forced into early retirement just 2 years later for being critical of the same administration's handling of the Iran deal and terrorism threats generally for that matter, has fallen victim to a series of intelligence leaks from a variety of agencies undoubtedly staffed with Obama loyalists just 24 days into his tenure as Trump's national security advisor. If so, you're certainly not alone in questioning the circumstances leading up to Flynn's forced resignation last night. In fact, earlier today, WikiLeaks tweeted that Flynn was forced to resign as a result of a destabilization campaign by U.S. spies, Democrats, and the media. Meanwhile, the Washington Free Beacon, courtesy of anonymous inside sources, have provided some context for what they describe as the culmination of a secret, month-long campaign by former Obama administration confidants to handicap President Donald Trump's national security apparatus and preserve the nuclear deal with Iran via a behind-the-scenes effort to plant a series of damaging stories about Flynn in the national media. The effort, said to include former Obama administration advisor Ben Rhodes, included a small task force of Obama loyalists who deluged media outlets with stories aimed at eroding Flynn's credibility in order to handicap the Trump administration's efforts to disclose secret deals of the nuclear deal with Iran that had been long hidden by the Obama administration. So it's like this guy may have known about it and would have been able to expose it, say, hey, there's more to this deal than anybody knows. Here's some secret information now that I'm in this position that I'd like to share with the people. Too late. You're being ousted. Not happening. I think that's essentially the moral of this article or story. According to the WFB's sources, tensions between the Obama administration and Flynn escalated after he was forced into early retirement from his post as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency in April 2014. Suddenly freed of his obligation to toe the party line, Flynn became publicly critical of the administration's handling of the Iran deal, as well as its efforts to cover up classified documents recovered from the Osama bin Laden raid that allegedly proves Iran's close relationship with al-Qaeda. Eli Lake, Eli Lake, a Bloomberg View columnist and veteran national security reporter, well-sourced in the White House, told the Free Beacon that Flynn earned a reputation in the Obama administration as one of its top detractors. Quote, Michael Flynn was one of the Obama administration's fiercest critics after he was forced out of the Defense Intelligence Agency, said Lake, who described the political assassination of Michael Flynn in his column published earlier Tuesday. Flynn, this is his quote, Flynn was a withering critic of Obama's biggest foreign policy initiative, the Iran deal. He also publicly accused the administration of keeping classified documents found in the Osama bin Laden raid that showed Iran's close relationship with al-Qaeda. He was a thorn in their side. But when Flynn was chosen by Trump as national security advisor, Obama loyalists knew that their sacred deal was at risk of being exposed and took steps to preemptively discredit him at all costs. It's undeniable that the campaign to discredit Flynn was well underway before Inauguration Day, with a very troublesome and politicized series of leaks designed to undermine him, said one veteran national security advisor with close ties to the White House team. This pattern reminds me of the lead-up to the Iran deal and probably features the same cast of characters. It's actually Ben Rhodes, NIAC, and the Iranian mullahs who are celebrating today, said one veteran foreign policy insider who is close to Flynn in the White House. They know that the number one target is Iran, and they all knew their little sacred agreement with Iran was going to go off the books. So they got rid of Flynn before any of the secret agreements even surfaced. Flynn had been preparing to publicize many of the details about the nuclear deal that had been intentionally hidden by the Obama administration as part of its effort to garner support for the deal, the sources said. As sources told the WFB, Flynn's ouster was not the result of a series of random events, but rather a coordinated effort of nameless, faceless bureaucrats who were able to take out a national security advisor based on a campaign of innuendo and completely devoid of any tangible evidence. Well, I would argue, if that's really true, there's nothing on this guy, like what they're saying he did is not even true. I mean, wouldn't Trump, knowing who the guy is, he picked him, say, no, I'm sticking with you. I believe this is a wrong campaign, it's a lie, etc. And I'm going to cut, I'm sticking with you. You're staying. I don't want you to resign. I want you to stay. So maybe there's something to this. But again, if it's simply him talking to a Russian ambassador, knowing that, hey, in another month, because supposedly this happened in December, this conversation, which I believe was illegally wiretapped to begin with. Nonetheless, this conversation happened. And it could be like, look, in another month, Mr. Trump will be president. Maybe we'll be able to take those sanctions down. We'll have to wait till then. Oh, Logan Act. How about the Logan Act when some of these, both Democrat and Republican, politicians go over to the Bilderberg Group meeting and discuss not just foreign policy, world policy? How about the Logan Act then? No? No? Okay. Just checking. One senior White House official told the Free Beacon that leaks targeting the former official were not the result of a series of random events. Again, we had just heard that. The drumbeat of leaks of sensitive material related to General Flynn has been building since he was named to his position, said the official, who is a member of the White House's National Security Council. Last night was not the result of a series of random events. The president has lost a valuable advisor, and we need to make sure this sort of thing does not happen again. So let me ask you a question. Have I said once or twice, just curious, once or twice maybe, that all these quote-unquote appointed positions by former presidents, not just Obama, Bush, Clinton, and Papa Bush, etc., these are people you don't vote for. And if they're all on that side against Trump, they're all going to be working to do anything they can to expose anybody on Trump's team that they don't want. However, they just showed their hand. They showed that they're willing to listen in illegally on these high-level government officials on our side. So that should put everyone on notice. Trump, in your team, you're now on notice. This is how they're going to operate. This evidence isn't even submittable in court, really, because it was gained illegally, apparently, from what I was reading. But nonetheless, the media gets a hold of it. And Trump's thinking, well, the whole Hillary thing and the damaged emails, and I yelled it out loud about her, she'd be in jail. Yeah, listen, Flynn, I was rooting for you, but I'm sorry, buddy, you got to go. So he should learn from that and say, okay, we're going to have to play a little bit hardball. And not only that, all these positions, all these people who are exposing this stuff, like, making this a big deal out of Flynn, as in the ones trying to blow the whistle or colluding on the Obama side to get rid of this guy and anyone that's around Trump. If I were Trump, I'd go after them. Fired, 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 and fired. And now I'm going to put my guys in all those positions. How about that? Another source expressed concern that public trust in the intelligence community would be eroded by the actions of employees with anti-Trump agendas, which I would agree. The larger issue that should be troubling the American people is the far-reaching power of unknown, unelected apparatchiks in the intelligence community deciding for themselves both who serves in government and what is an acceptable policy they will allow the elected representatives of the people to pursue, said the National Security Advisor quoted above. Put aside the issue of Flynn himself, that nameless, faceless bureaucrats were able to take out a president's national security advisor based on a campaign of innuendo without evidence should worry every American, the source explained. The Obama administration knew that Flynn was going to release the secret documents around the Iran deal, which would blow up their myth that it was a good deal that rolled back Iran, the source said. So in December, the Obama NSC started going to work with their favorite reporters, selectively leaking damaging and incomplete information about Flynn. After Trump was inaugurated, some of those people stayed in, and some began working from the outside, and they cooperated to keep undermining Trump, the source said, detailing a series of leaks from within the White House in the past weeks targeting Mr. Flynn. Last night's resignation was their first major win, but unless the Trump people get serious about cleaning house, it won't be the last. That was his quote. Of course, while interesting as always, we suggest a healthy dose of skepticism when contemplating the remarks of anonymous sources and leave it to you to decipher fact from fiction, says Zero Hedge. So what say you, dear reader? Was Flynn's ouster the result of a simple miscommunication or a series of secret political maneuvers by Obama loyalists to undermine the Trump intelligence apparatus and protect their vulnerable Iran deal? And I'll add, and other things that might surface that we don't know about. They now get to figure out. Tell me about Benghazi. What was really happening in Benghazi? Were we doing any kind of gun running, drug running, anything? Right? He now can find out. This guy Flynn could have been all over that. Could have found out all about that. So I have to agree, because that's what I've been saying since even before he was president. You have to get rid of all these pointed positions. And I usually, when I talk about this, I usually focus on the appointed federal judge, appellate judge, appointed, Ninth Circuit, liberal, appointed, get this nonsense out of here. But this goes to show you, it's not just federal judge appointments. These are all people, again, you never normally hear about. These are positions you never really hear about. They're unelected, yet high enough in government that they can cause some serious problems for people. So if all of this old apparatus, old status quo, filth, cockroaches are embedded like in your walls, out of control, you got to start cleaning off, so-called cleaning house. Get rid of the cockroaches. Time to set off a bug fogger in each and every room. So time to set off a bug fogger for FBI, CIA, NSA, State Department, everywhere. Remove. Drain the swamp. Forget clean house. Not the swamp. Drain, Lake Okeechobee in Florida, massive lake. The Great Lake. Drain the Great Lakes. The swamp is the Congress critters, is my opinion, and the federal court system. But you can't really just replace them. But that's the swamp, in my opinion. The Great Lakes is all these embedded, unelected officials that can and do wield power. Like they said, they can spy on anybody, including a very high-level official like Mr. Flynn was. And again, tons of news stories come out. The mainstream media rolls with it. I personally would, if Flynn was that guy you want on your team, maybe you have to say, look, I'm keeping him. I don't want you to, Mr. Flynn, I don't want you to resign. You're my man. Okay? I support you. If any charges come, I'll just instantly, pardon you. Because we know it's the liberal left and Obama plants dealing with this. And then with your help, we're going to clean house. But maybe it's just too much. And Trump says, well, again, but the Hillary thing, I can't now let something like this, because maybe there's merit to it. Maybe he was making the conversations in December, even though it was minor. It shouldn't have happened. You should have waited till you became officially in my, administration and then had the conversation. You didn't do that, so I got to let you go. Maybe that's how it's going. I'm sure he will find another pick that sees eye to eye with himself, him being Trump. Take care.